how to seamlessly implement maintenance pages on AWS, and then activate them ideally automatically. So instead of 503s being, some ugly 503 message being apparent when you're having downtime serving a pretty page. And I think it was Michael Jenkins. We talked about this last time when it came up, but I think one of the nicest solutions we talked about that time was serving a static 503 response from the Amazon load balancer with an iframe to a static site, which is hosted on S3, or it could even be off of Amazon. So if you want to make sure that it's like more reliable, even if Amazon is unavailable at the S3 level, you could do that.
So the request has been, I mentioned earlier that we put together something where we shove a bunch of files and do some cache invalidations in CloudFront. What I've been asked to look into now is just setting the ELB to return 503s always, and then our front end would adapt the API, their
routes
to handle the responses.
When I used to work on Electronic Arts, the game company, we did this a lot. Maintenance pages. It's really, really, really bad idea to use error codes for static pages or maintenance pages, because some devices are not friendly enough to actually show you the page, and they will show you an error instead of your page saying that it was a 503, because a 503 is an error.
Well, it would be our front end code that would be handling the 503s.
But
so
the code that you give
API
to
layer?
The code that you give to the customer back should be always a 200, no matter what, not an error. Some people used to use a 404, for example, as a maintenance page, and they will return a 404 page with a 404 error, and then later change to a 404 error page, but actually the code back was a 200. Okay, so that's what I'm trying to say. Just don't send the code back. Yeah.
The way that I've achieved this in the past a little bit was using an ALB, where we had routes. So we had a flag. It was all managed by Terraform. We had a flag that just said maintenance, and then you would apply it. And what would happen is it would insert a route as the first priority that basically just says return 503, and then the static site that we had in the an S3 bucket would read the 503 and then show like a maintenance page. But then the other thing that we paired that with was we had certain IP addresses for developers that would bypass that 503, so that they could actually test it to make sure that when they're actually doing the maintenance, like the app comes back up and all of that kind of stuff before you release it. That's one way. The other way I've seen it done is
that's a really good one.
I like that suggestion a lot. Yeah, because you have to validate it without opening it up somehow.
Yeah, which is hard to do. And I shot myself in the foot like 3 times before I said, hey, why don't I just like not show a 503 to myself, and I'll show a 503 to everyone else, and then that worked.
So long as you have external monitoring, so it's not like, hey, it works for me. What are you saying the site's down?
Yeah. That would be bad. And I've also seen some conditional Route 53 like health check things where you can use that to, but that gets a little bit more like more complicated to manage, and TTLs come into play and a bunch of other things there that you have to be careful with.
Yeah, I would really avoid DNS manipulation for clients. DNS is just notoriously poorly cached. There's one other thing that we've only recently started playing, which is the global accelerator, which is somewhere in between like the DNS hack and actually an Amazon first class service. So this way you have a single IP for that all clients access, but you can very easily point it from one ALB to another ALB if you wanted to.
The other thing I wanted to say, talking about caches, if you use a 404 or 503, you are not going to cache it. So you had to make sure, like, if you have like hundreds of thousands of requests per second,
Right.
and
right.
you put your site on an S3 or behind Nginx or whatever, you're not going to DDoS it yourself, because you are sending back a 503, which no cache or intermediate cache is going to cache for any time. So you're going to DDoS yourself. So that's another reason why not to use error codes, because 200s and valid cache control headers are followed by caching mechanisms, but not error codes. So
one of the things I've done, which I liked, but I actually regretted it when we used it, was so the problem also with the error pages, right? You serve this site down page, and then there are people on they navigate to that, they leave it open, but then you come back, but they have no idea you're back, and that you're still showing the down page. So then then what I thought was a smart thing was we have an automatic refresh. So every 30 seconds or every minute or something, that page is reloading. Well,
and you DDoS yourself.
Exactly. In real world scenarios, then suddenly you're DDoSing yourself and you have an outage. Because if you have 10,000 clients automatically refreshing every 30 seconds, wham, wham, wham. So, lessons learned.